Have you ever wondered why mental health issues carry a stigma while physical illnesses don't? Let's dive into that. Picture this: an illness that lurks in the shadows, unseen and often misunderstood. This is the nature of mental health, a silent but powerful force that affects millions around the world. Yet, despite its widespread impact, it's often met with misunderstanding and stigmatization. There's a prevalent notion that if an illness isn't visible, it isn't as legitimate or as real as physical ailments. However, this couldn't be further from the truth. Mental health issues are as real as any physical disease, but their invisible nature often leads to an unfortunate stigma. Unlike a broken bone or a physical wound, mental health conditions aren't easily seen or diagnosed with a simple scan or test. This invisibility can lead to misunderstanding, fear, and ultimately stigma. Now let's look at some global statistics to get a clearer picture. Every year, 1 in 4 people around the world will be affected by a mental or neurological disorder at some point in their lives. That's nearly 2 billion people worldwide. This staggering figure underscores the fact that mental health issues are not isolated incidents, but a global health concern. The impact of mental health issues stretches far beyond the individual. It affects families, communities, and societies at large. From lost productivity at work to strained relationships at home, the ripple effects of mental health issues are vast and far-reaching. Moreover, when individuals with mental health conditions are stigmatized, they're less likely to seek help, exacerbating the issue and perpetuating a cycle of silence and suffering. So let's remember, mental health conditions may be invisible, but their effects are not. They are as real as any physical ailment, and they deserve our understanding, compassion, and attention. Just because mental health issues are invisible doesn't make them any less real or important. It's time to debunk some of the most common myths surrounding mental health. First off, let's tackle the myth that individuals with mental health issues are dangerous. While it's true that some people with certain types of mental health conditions might exhibit violent behavior, it's important to remember that this is not the rule, but the exception. The fact is, individuals with mental health disorders are more likely to be victims of violence rather than instigators. So let's put that myth to rest. Next up, the myth that mental health problems are a sign of weakness. This, again, is a gross misconception. Mental health issues are not a character flaw or a sign of weakness. They can affect anyone, regardless of their strength, resilience, or courage. These conditions are often caused by a combination of genetic, biological, environmental, and psychological factors. So let's be clear, having a mental health issue doesn't make you weak, it makes you human. Finally, we come to the myth that people with mental health issues can't recover or lead normal lives. This is probably one of the most harmful myths out there. It's true that mental health issues can be challenging, but with the right treatment and support, most people with mental health issues can recover completely or manage their symptoms effectively. Yes, they might need to battle their conditions every day, but they can still study, work, and contribute to society. They can still love, laugh, dream, and lead fulfilling lives. In debunking these myths, we're not just correcting misinformation, we're challenging stereotypes, combating discrimination, and changing attitudes. We're empowering people to seek help without fear of judgment. We're reminding everyone that it's okay not to be okay, that asking for help is a sign of strength, not weakness, and that recovery is not just possible, but probable. By debunking these myths, we can start to break down the stigma surrounding mental health. The stigma surrounding mental health doesn't just cause discrimination, it can also prevent people from seeking help. This is a heavy truth that we must confront head-on. The impact of stigma on individuals grappling with mental health issues is profound and far-reaching. Imagine waking up every day with a weight on your chest, an invisible load that makes even the simplest tasks seem monumental. You know you need help, but the fear of being labeled, judged, or misunderstood is so overwhelming that it stops you from reaching out. This is the reality for many individuals wrestling with mental health problems. The stigma creates a wall of silence, a barrier that often prevents them from seeking the help they desperately need. But the effects of stigma don't stop there. It also has a way of seeping into the psyche, causing feelings of shame and embarrassment. People start to internalize the negative perceptions, believing that they are somehow less worthy or less capable because of their mental health condition. They start to see themselves through the distorted lens of stigma, and this can be incredibly damaging to their self-esteem and overall sense of self-worth. Moreover, stigma can lead to social isolation. Individuals with mental health issues often fear rejection or judgment from their peers, causing them to withdraw from social situations and relationships. They might feel like they have to hide their struggles, putting on a mask to appear normal. This isolation can exacerbate mental health problems, creating a vicious cycle that can be difficult to break. Stigma can also impact a person's willingness to adhere to treatment. They might avoid taking prescribed medications or attending therapy sessions for fear of being seen or labeled as crazy. This can hinder their recovery and potentially lead to more severe mental health crises down the line. In short, the stigma surrounding mental health is not just harmful. It can be life-threatening. It creates a culture of silence and shame that prevents individuals from seeking help, damages their self-image, and isolates them from their community. We need to break this cycle, to shatter the stigma, and to create a world where mental health is treated with the same understanding and compassion as physical health. Stigma isn't just harmful, it can be life-threatening. So how can we break the stigma surrounding mental health? Well, the first step is education. We need to learn and understand that mental health issues are real, they're common, and they're treatable. Educating ourselves about mental health can help us dispel myths and misconceptions and replace them with facts and understanding. We need to recognize that mental health issues are not a sign of weakness or a character flaw. They are medical conditions, just like diabetes or heart disease. Education can also help us to recognize the signs of mental health issues in ourselves and others. It can empower us to seek help when we need it and to offer support when others do. And it can help us to understand that treatment works and recovery is possible. Next, we need to have open conversations about mental health. We need to make it safe for people to talk about their experiences and their feelings. We need to listen without judgment and respond with empathy and understanding. And we need to share our own experiences too. By talking openly about mental health, we can normalize these conversations and make it easier for people to reach out for help. Media portrayals of mental health can also play a significant role in breaking the stigma. We need to encourage accurate and compassionate portrayals of mental health issues in the media. We need to challenge stereotypes and misinformation, and celebrate stories of recovery and resilience. Finally, we can break the stigma through advocacy. We can stand up for the rights of people with mental health issues. We can demand better access to mental health services. And we can support policies that promote mental health and well-being. In short, breaking the stigma requires a collective effort. It requires understanding and empathy. It requires open conversations and accurate information. And it requires a commitment to advocacy and action. Breaking the stigma starts with each of us. What role can you play in breaking the stigma surrounding mental health? This is a question worth pondering. As individuals, we have the power to make a difference. It all starts with education. You can begin by educating yourself about mental health. Dive deep into the research, understand the facts, and dispel the myths. Knowledge, as they say, is power. But don't just stop at self-education. Share what you've learned with others. Conversations about mental health should not be confined to hushed whispers or behind closed doors. It should be as open and as normal as discussing physical health. So, take a step forward and initiate these discussions at your dinner table, in your classrooms, or at your workplace. However, while we speak about mental health, let's also be mindful of our language. Words are powerful, and they can either uplift or tear down. Avoid using derogatory terms or making light of mental health issues. Instead, use empathetic language that respects and validates people's experiences. Listening plays a crucial role too. If someone opens up to you about their mental health struggles, lend them an ear. You don't have to have all the answers or solutions. Sometimes all a person needs is to be heard, to be understood, to be reassured that they're not alone. You can also provide support in various other ways. Check in on your loved ones regularly. Encourage them to seek professional help if they need it. Be there for them through their journey, reminding them that it's okay not to be okay. Lastly, Advocate for mental health in your communities. Whether it's promoting mental health awareness events, supporting local mental health organizations, or speaking up against stigma, every effort counts. In conclusion, each one of us has a role to play in breaking the stigma surrounding mental health. It may seem like a daunting task, but remember, change often starts small. It's a ripple effect. Your actions can inspire others, and together we can create a world where mental health is understood, accepted, and prioritized. Remember, mental health issues are nothing to be ashamed of, and it's up to all of us to break the stigma.